The entire period of the development of Kazakhstan's professional school of painting has been marked with an important tendency. Artists continue to refer to the images of Kazakh nomadic civilization and traditional way of living. A yurt and its shanirag, the circular opening at its top, tableware, felt and embroidery carpets, musical instruments, national costumes, jewelry, headdress and many other things accompanied nomads in their everyday life and continue to live in the dimension of painting. The genius of Kazakh has fully expressed itself in their decorative and applied arts. Patterns and ornamental motifs were the main element of any crafted item. The approach to decorating everyday object, from a small blazik ring to long surmak carpet, have evolved for ages and gotten rich with aesthetic, semantic and symbolic counterpoints. As is known, Kazakhstan's school of painting is rather young. It's count around 100 years. The development of painting was determined by a new social-economic structure, the growth of industry in cities, and the transition to a settled life. The new conditions shape a new perception of the world associated with the innovations of everyday life. Artists of various generations, from the first Kazakh painters to contemporary ones, bring the images of the nomadic life into their works. A global idea that defined the Kazakh art at all stages of its development is nation's immanent self-identity. The artists of 1920s, 30s, the period when the Kazakh school of painting began to develop, were the direct witnesses of nomadism that had been historically the way the people lived in the region. Nikolai Khludov and Abulkhan Kosteyev became the true chroniclers of the epoch. They tried to accurately reproduce the life of Kazakhs in a most detailed and narrative way. Nature, with its steppes and mountains, appears as a harmonious universe and the background for ordinary life scenes captured by Kosteyev in his watercolors and paintings. A woman in a yurt, cooking, horse pasturing, sheep shearing, mare milking, or preparing the kurt, salty cottage cheese. Kosteyev poeticized the Kazakhs' habitual occupation and recorded everyday routines in every detail. The organic connection between a human being and the surrounding world is in the center of the artist's attention. His inspiration is fused with primitivism, as evidenced by naive depiction of every object, the flat and frontal composition, the focus on the foreground, and the motionless posing figures. It is no incident, for example, that he painted the Kazakh poet and musician Jambul Jabayev with a dombra in a yurt, surrounded by a usual household object, an ornate and colorful floor carpet, the Tusek cup felt case for lining, the carved kebeje chest, blankets, a mat, and pillows. The colorful joints of the kerege, the yurt's outer wall, add integrity to this picture. The witnesses of the past and the invariable companions of ordinary life reflect the poetics of this great master of words. Nikolai Khludov, Kosteyev's predecessor and teacher, has a somewhat different approach. His paintings are filled with ethnographic features and accurately fix every element of costumes or typical household items in their functions. Khludov's works, as an alternative to photography, remain an important source of ordinary life of Kazakhs at the turn of the 20th century. A careful observer, Khludov focused on the typical details. He noticed, for example, a saddle covered with fur that helped to travel long distances during migrations. In a kimeshek, a married woman, a headdress, the artist takes note of the various ways of wounding a turban. A yurt is a unique phenomenon in nomadic life and the artistic narrations about it. Its spherical form refers to the dome of the heavens that stretch over the people who had lived in the steppe for ages. Simply made, comfortable and practical, a yurt is an invariable object in Kazakh paintings. Khludov shows the yurt from outside as part of the landscape. When painting its interior, he demonstrates its peculiar inner space and how objects are placed within it. The walls are traditionally formed by the diagonal kerege lattice, ornate cases and cabbage chests are located around the circular perimeter. The certain location of each object reflects the understanding of how the world is built and the key laws of harmony. In the center of the yurt there is a fireplace, the topographic midpoint and functionally important and sacral place. A kazan, a large cooking pot, is a main component of the fireside that symbolizes the fullness of life and well-being. The artists of the first generation who set a direction for the development of fine arts in Kazakhstan used similar tasks of the representation of the traditional Kazakh life. The next generation of painters, that of the 1950s, developed another approach. Artists of this period suggested their own interpretation of the phenomenon of nomadism. They created almost idealistic picture of being where people and nature lived in harmony. The idea of a man's connection with nature is constant in how a Kazakh nomad sees the world, as they cannot think themselves existent beyond the natural environment. Kanafia Tiljanov, the leader of this generation, used a poetic approach to ethnic traditions by showing large-scale cultural events, such as, for example, an ethnic game. His favorite character was a horse rider portrayed dynamically and expressively. The image of a horse rider is an archetype in the Kazakh culture. Horse riding games offered a perfect opportunity to show a galloping horse and the rider who became one with it. The signs of the new time, a running train or power transmission lines going beyond the horizon, cannot displace the traditional way of life. The spirit of the proud and beautiful characters and the objects of the nomadic life dominate Tiljanov's work, symbolize the fundamentality of centuries-long traditions. Aisha Galimbayeva's almost intimate way of picturing the Kazakh life contrasts with Tiljanov's elevated interpretations. Everyday life items are not only the objects of the life in the aul, like in Kosteyev or Hludov's works. In her interpretation, these things acquire their own value as well as unique beauty. Each element reflects the beauty and vital energy of natural materials and conveys the wisdom of ancient traditions. A dastarkhan, a festive table set for guests, is filled with the symbols of hospitality. A wooden ojao ladle and a bowl for kumis, a kiseti bowl and decorated felkazhan, ornate carpets and painted ceramic jug are necessary items for a Kazakh steppe household. Galimbayeva explores the philosophy of things using nomadic being, harmony, festivity, and comfort. She shows in her works refer to the creative energy of a woman who is the artist's main character. The work of crafters who create unique pieces of folk art is another significant phenomenon. The characters painted by artists are often real people and not just poeticized images. Gulfairuz Ismailova in her Crafter portrayed her mother, who had been a known carpet weaver. The old woman in white cloth, which contrasts with her swarthy face and hands, is surrounded by alasha, bao and baskur carpets. Their colors and patterns fill in the work with the glory of life. Moldahmed Kinbaev in felt making is a fascinated observer of the making of a tekemet carpet. Women in colored vests with their almost musical hands laying a red pattern onto a white warp. The monumental mountain landscape at sunset, the polyphony of colors make this picture of everyday life an expression of the pure idea. The search for a new language of painting in the 60s generation changed the approach to colors and figurativeness. The pictures get more symbolic and rid of excessive detail. The generation offers a new understanding of the nomadic civilization. Salihiddin Aytbayev characters are presented as eternal people in an eternal and timeless steppe. Togbolat Toguzbayev also makes reference to the folk art by stylizing the inner space of a yurt or a house and filling it with epic motifs and expression of the ethnic idea. Abdrashid Sidikhanov combines in his works symbolic figures, ornamental motifs, and the Tanba signs of a clan. This helps him to capture the quintessence of the ideas hidden in objects or occurrences. Important symbols of the nomadic culture emerge in the work work by Amandosa Kanaev. His Saukile, for example, combines the sacral science of the nomadic civilization, a bright headdress soaring up towards a shanrak. The artist experiments with collage to include decorative patterns and relief in the space of his paintings. The new wave of Kazakh paintings of the 1980s-90s are the intensified philosophical approach, symbolism, a deeper personal view, and individualism. The 2000s were the time of renewed interest of the images of the nomadic civilization in the narrative of paintings. In battle, historical, and epic scenes, nomadic objects acquire new meaning. Large and multi-figures neorealistic pictures get filled with the detailed images of weaponry, ammunition, military costumes, and musical instruments. A perfect drawing and an abundance of detail are typical features of the artists of this period, such as Nurlan Kilibayev, Mirjan Nurgozhin, Talgat Leuzhanov, Dozbol Kasimov, and others. In addition to being extremely specific, the art of the most recent time offers a historical interpretation of the past and chooses people and heroes as its key subject. The evolution of the Kazakh painting has shown that painters use nomadic archetypes to express a multifaceted range of moral and ethnical values. The objects of the past reflected their way of life, beliefs, traditions, rituals, and philosophy, bearing at the same time a sacral meaning and connection with nature. Kazakhstan's contemporary artists continue to revisit their ethnic, cultural, and household tradition because their spiritual foundations remain unchanged and important in the past, at present, and in the future.